and Performers' Rights Society of Kenya. These organizations have not done justice to the artists that they represent. In fact, just the other day, there was a case that made headlines where these societies were actually taken to court by some of the artists. And what came out is that it is a space that is riddled with opaqueness, if I could borrow that popular lexicon. But it's also riddled with a lot of mismanagement, and it's a space that will require a lot of attention. We need to take a look at the law. We have a law in this country called the movable and for the House to consider recognizing the creative space and the artistic talents as intellectual property, but also as movable property, so that we can give sufficient weight to the creativity of our young people. It is an area which, Honorable Gikaira, through the chair, I want to assure you that the architecture of this ministry, as has been communicated in the Executive Order number 1 of 2022, provides an opportunity, perhaps for the first time ever, for this space of creatives to be given form. If you approved me to take this office, I would move with haste to establish a whole directorate for the arts. A directorate that would give form to this sector, but would also then make it possible for us to allocate resources, to allocate funding to this sector and support our young people engaged in the creative industry. You also did ask the question on the artists getting what they deserve. I believe that once we have put in place, we formalize that space, then it should be possible for us then to raise the entitlement that they get. Honorable Russell, and Mheshimiwa, you know that while working with you in my recent past life at the Foreign Office, during which again we successfully got the Foreign Service Act enacted, you saw the deliberate effort we put in to start profiling our sports people and turning them into ambassadors for this country. For instance, when we sought to sit on the UN Security Council, among the ambassadors we put forth to market Kenya as being worth of a place on the UN Security Council were our sports people. One of our highest profile activities was a marathon we organized in the streets of New York at the tail end of our campaign for the UN Security Council. And we tapped the profile of great sons of this land, great sons and daughters of this land like Eliud Kipchoge. And this is something that we have to do. But as you have correctly said, this must be turned into an industry. We cannot continue running sports and the arts as a sideshow, as a pastime. This is something which you should know. You can actually live from it fully and be able to take care of yourself. And it can be such a huge contribution to our GDP. It is happening in other economies. It's happening in places like the US, in South Africa. I mean, when you look even the way Tanzania is managing their sporting space, football, you can see there is already progress towards industrializing sports and the arts. We must do it, and I commit to do so, should I find favor of this committee. Honorable Emase, Mr. Chairman, you are right about the share of the fund, with 65% going to healthcare, and just a little bit, 30% going to sports and 5% going to the arts, for a fund which was created by the Sports Act for purposes of this particular this particular area. We have to change that. We have to change that. We have to provide money into the academy, as you have correctly said. Our officers are in Nairobi. They're not visiting the rural areas. I know that Teso South is abound with talent. We have to provide resources to be able to nurture this talent, to identify this talent. And in terms of the priority in reviewing this law, we need to strengthen the discipline in our sports federations. There are a lot of issues within our sports federations, but we need to pay even keener attention in streamlining this funding space. But most importantly, as we review this law and this policy, my focus definitely would be on how we unleash the full potential of this country as a sporting and artistic country in an industrial, in a very economic, very commercial sense, Honorable Emase. Mheshimiwa Naisula, the plan to tap talent, we don't appreciate our sports people enough. And you're right. We have seen an unprecedented number of our sports people changing nationalities. The other day, there was an interesting ceremony in Gaborone, Botswana, where a few of their sports people who had just come back from some international event were feted in a massive national event, and they were being given three bedroom apartments. They were being given resources to boost their businesses and all that kind of stuff. I believe that we can do more in motivating our sports people. But for me, what is more important is artists can comfortably live from the sweat of their brow, and providing that legislative and policy framework for them to do that, and make it really proud for them to represent Kenya, to be proud to represent their country. Mheshimiwa Amisi, we will go to Matisi with you, Mheshimiwa Amisi, to make sure that we start demonstrating in a very clear way that we need to pay attention to grassroots talent development. And if you look at many countries that have grown exponentially in this space, they just get the basics right. And if you go back in the history of this country, when we did very well in sports like hockey, at one time Kenya used to be represented at the Olympics in hockey. Kenya used to be a powerhouse in boxing. Kenya used to be a powerhouse in cricket. These sports are no longer anywhere on the horizon. We just got the basics right. I remember when I was in high school at Kolanya, hockey was a big thing in Kisumu City. Big thing, and some of the best players playing for the Kenya national team in hockey were from Kisumu. We are not just paying attention to the breeding grounds of sports and talent. And I can tell you, if Ferdinand Omanyala had not happened on us, we would never have imagined that we can actually crack the short distance space. Angela Okutoi is now winning tennis games at the very top level. The other day, she became the first Kenyan to win the doubles at Wimbledon. She won the singles at the Australian Open. Those are really premium global events. Now we are just realizing that we actually have talent in tennis. But for us to be able to do this, we have to dive deep and start identifying this talent from the source and nurture it to the top. So I am with this committee. I'm with you, Honorable Amisi, absolutely, 100%. And in the spirit of the Kenya Kwanza bottom-up, I will really do this bottom-up, like really go bottom-up, go to the bottom and develop this talent up in the spirit of our government. Finally, Mheshimiwa Koech, I was as dumbfounded as you were that Naomi Campbell would be hoisted on us as some kind of emblem or symbol of Kenyanness. Because if you needed a lady with a global image, we have Lupita Nyong'o, who is